So, most of us have heard about those homeschool stereotypes. You know, those people that just hide in the corner and look really scared that you're going to talk to them because then they're going to have to interact. Well, that might seem a little bit harsh, but critics seem to think this is a pretty accurate representation of homeschoolers. They think that homeschooling not only shortchanges kids, but can also handicap them academically, socially, and psychologically. But if that's the case, why is homeschooling growing at a massive rate? With only 900,000 homeschool students in 1998, in 2009 it grew to almost 3 million, and homeschooling continues to be on the rise. I think one of the main reasons for that is technology. It allows the parent to stay at home and allows families to still rely on a double parent income while having one of the parents control the education of the kids. Also with technology, there's thousands of online courses and curriculums that are online for the parent to mix and match a unique educational program for each child's needs. This can take the form of structured schooling, which is similar to a public schooling method of testing and book learning, or it can fall into the other extreme of unschooling, where the parent allows the child's bent and natural interest to direct the flow of education. There's other mixes and matches of the two, which are eclectic learning and hybrid schooling, which allows for some classes at a public school or maybe allows the child to do sports at a public school. But in any case, despite all these education models that are really unique to tailor to the child's needs, is homeschooling in the child's best interest, despite critics' claims? Well, first I want to address the academics of homeschooling. How do they perform academically? Brian Ray did a study with 12,000 homeschoolers and surveyed their standardized test scores. He found that on average, homeschool students scored in the 84th percentile, where the national average is the 50th percentile. Here we have a figure where you can see the Ray's homeschooling sample here, and then the national average, which is 50% here. But some people were saying, well, this is the homeschool elite. They chose to be in the survey, so of course their kids are going to do good on their test. But some states, like Oregon, which require all homeschooled students to test, also report that these homeschool students score in the 80 to 81st percentile, where the national average remains the same at 50%. So, it is no wonder that Ivy League colleges such as Harvard and Yale are recruiting these homeschoolers and offering them scholarships to come to their schools. According to empirical data, it appears that these kids have higher ACT scores, SAT scores, and higher college graduation rates than their other traditionally schooled counterparts. So, it appears that parents are doing a pretty good job educating their children in academics through homeschooling. However, so what, maybe you're saying? So these kids are brainiacs, but they still don't know how to interact with other people. They only know how to interact with math and figures and stuff like that. Well, not necessarily. Often parents use the academic method that they use to tailor it to their own child's needs and apply the same thing with socialization. Instead of letting their kids go out to a public school and make and meet their own friends of whoever, they can have really negative influences there and the parents don't even know about it. The parents are able to cultivate and have a healthy environment for their kids to come and still interact with people. In contrast to the negative stereotype model of, these homeschoolers are cloistered at home, which is commonly taught, homeschoolers are not, and on average, they spend an average of 21 hours a week with a non-family adult or child. So in this case, it's not that parents are just taking their kids away from everyone, but they're allowing their kid to interact with people who they think are going to be positive influences in their life. And this results in kids being less subject to lying, using illicit substances, gambling, and other derogatory behaviors, according to a study by Medlin. Medlin also found that scores of children on social skills tests were higher in cooperation and responsibility if they were homeschooled, and they were higher in problem behaviors in public school methods. Teachers were also questioned, and teachers for public school students filled out a teacher skills rating form. And homeschool students had not their parents, but outside teachers from other classes fill out their form for them. And it was found that these teachers rated these homeschool students significantly higher in social skills, while public school students only got rated higher in aggression and hyperactivity. Perhaps the most important thread to consider, however, is the psychological thread. And that's the one of how is the child's self-esteem, which is their confidence in their worth, and their self-concept, which is how they view themselves. Positive communication and parental encouragement and modeled behavior are some of the most important things to developing this healthy self-concept and self-esteem in these kids. Whether kids like it or not, homeschooling throws the parent and child into really close communication, and in most instances, this has a positive influence on how the child views him or herself. Carson decided to ask children through a survey what they think about their homeschooling method, and she found that these homeschooled children were more secure in who they were than their traditionally schooled counterparts. They were more assured about their capabilities and had greater confidence levels. And they also, when compared to private school students and public school students, had the greater satisfaction and positivity with their current education method. So in most cases, these kids were really satisfied with the way they were being brought up. Brian Ray decided to go one step further and look at adults and what adults' attitudes were to their former homeschooling education method. And he found that these adults, in many cases, were super happy with the way that they had been schooled and would even go so far as to suggest it to other people and would go back and do the same thing if they could choose how they were to be brought up again. These adults were also really good with their being independent. They were very successful in the workforce, and they were very entrepreneurial. So in these cases, these were good, healthy adults that were becoming good citizens to our country. One other thing I want to address is critics seem to think that, yes, upper-class members of society are able to provide these unique experiences for their kids because they have the funds to do it. However, low-income members of society should go to public schools because the schools can provide things that homeschooling parents cannot. However, I'd like to look at Olympic medalists Serena and Venus Williams, who were born in the slums. And really, by being homeschooled, they were allowed to spend more time practicing tennis, which gave them an edge that eventually got them out of their slums. It was their ticket out of the slums. And also, by being under the protection of their father and their mother, they were free from a lot of the gang and violence struggles that went on in the schools and the negative influences that are so common in low-income neighborhoods. Obviously, public school has helped shape many, many productive lives. However, the point I want to prove is that homeschooling does not shortchange children academically, socially, or psychologically. I think it's important to objectively look at the statistics and lay our prejudice aside, seeing what is the best way to educate future children of America. I think educators and parents should tailor the education method to fit each child's individual needs and put them in a place like the home that's a positive environment where they can best cultivate their health and development and be free from cookie-cutter teaching plans and negative stereotypes. Thank you so much.